All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to my news channel, TMossBoss and News. And in today's video, yeah, I saw this a while back, and it's pretty disturbing. It's one of those things where it's like that if somebody would have did that to her kid, she would have had a problem with it. But anyway, so a daycare worker thought for some odd reason, as a punishment, that it would be okay because the kid didn't want to take a nap, but she thought that as a form of timeout, put him in the trash can. It's one of those things where it's like you got to sit down and ask her. And I guess, like, trying to be as respectful as I can be. How would that make you feel if somebody did that to your kid? Like talking to, I think, yeah, her name is Anna Petru or something like that. But, anyways, how would that make you feel if somebody did that to your kid? And I feel like, people probably answer and be all like, oh, I wouldn't have a problem with it. If my kid's cutting up in school, then yeah, I'd expect the teacher to do whatever they can to get them to not cut up. If that's the case, put your kids off up in a home somewhere. I'm like, it's one of those things where I'm like, a teacher, the only thing that you need to do is put them in timeout or call me in case of some stuff is going down. All right. But putting them in the trash can, that's one of those things. Now, let's say, switch the roles around, and let's say that it's a little bit more of an older kid, a high schooler and things. He picks you up and puts you in the trash can. How would that make you feel? So it's like, if you wouldn't want to be in the trash can, why would you think, oh, because he's a 4-year-old kid, he don't know what's going on? He obviously knew what was going on to where he went and told his parents what had happened. They had a problem with it. And it's like, man, and it's just, there's at times where I'm like, there are teachers, there are daycare workers, there are just people that do not need to work around kids. Because I just remember the times where when I was younger and I went to daycare, I had to say there were at times where there would be some people that you could tell, like, yeah, you don't work around kids on the regular and stuff. And I called out some teachers for that. I'm like, yeah, I could tell that this is your first time working around kids. Like, I was a little bit of a troubled kid growing up. But it's one of those things though where it's like, look, you need to understand that, a kid is human just like you. They're going to react just like you on certain things. So by putting them in the trash can, again, how would that make you feel if that was you or if that was your kid or if they did something equally disrespectful and stuff? So, yeah, it's one of those things where people don't really sit down and take the time to think about that until something equally disrespectful happens to them. Then that's when they're like, oh, now I understand why people were upset with this daycare worker and stuff. And it's like something done happened to my kid or something done happened to me. And now I know how they feel and stuff. Yeah, I'm like, it's one of those things. It shouldn't take you to experience something to understand that something is wrong with this. But yeah, you just got people out there where they will try to defend the daycare worker, and I'm like, nah, bro, there's no defense for that. I'm like, you can't defend her, and then but it's like, and then try to make it seem like, oh, stuff like this would never happen to my kid. And I'm like, and this was all because the kid didn't want to take a nap. Okay, if the kid doesn't want to take a nap, I'm like, you're gonna be tired. I'm like, your cartoon's gonna come on later on, and then what's gonna happen? You're gonna be passed out asleep because you didn't take no nap right now. I'm like, you trying to, what my thing is this. You trying to watch that Gumball Adventure show? Or are you trying to later on and be wide awake? Or are you trying to yeah, when that show does come on, you done went to sleep, woke up, then you wrote the credits and stuff. Now you upset and you trying to blame me. And I'm like, fam, I told you should have taken a nap. So, but anyways, yeah, it trips me out where it's like, I don't even work around kids, but it's like, I have to say, the thing is I guess, like, with me, with content creating, in a sense, I am kind of working around children. And that's one of the things where it's like, you have to do, as a content creator, you have to set an example. You have to be respectful. And it's things like that where I'm like, I guess with me, I can be a little bit unprofessional when it does come down to content creating in the internet. But it's like, I don't think there's ever been a time where I got into it with a 4-year-old kid. Now, yeah, maybe some middle school or schoolers or high schoolers, they're a little bit more developed, so they know what they're doing. But it's like a kid that doesn't want to take a nap. He doesn't understand. Like, he was born just 4 years ago. How do you expect him to have the concept of concept down to taking a nap? So it's like, yeah, it's things like that where it's like, people, you need to understand, like, who your audience is. I guess like in a situation like this, you have to understand the people that you're working around. You're working around kids that were born a few years ago. You're expecting them to be able to listen, and understand and all this other stuff. And it's like, fam, what were you doing when you were 4 years old? Most likely the same thing that this kid was doing. So that's why it just trips me out when it's like people, they just don't have a concept or an understanding of situations like this, and they try to defend her. They make it seem like there ain't nothing wrong with it, or even with her. And it's like, and I guarantee and I promise you, if the parents would have never went to the media or never talked about it and stuff, yeah, she wouldn't have lost her job. She wouldn't have been fired. And it's one of those things where it's all like, oh, it's whatever and stuff. So yeah, and it's like once when people start going to the media, and it's like it shouldn't take that in order for something to happen, or for some right then and there something should have happened when she put that kid in the trash can. And I guess because they did say that there were other workers there, and I definitely would be like, no, we ain't doing that. You ain't gonna have it where now my job is in jeopardy because I'm watching you doing this and I don't do nothing about it. So I'm like, no, you gotta go. I'm like, and if she's trying to argue, I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Call the parents up and tell them what you did, because it's like if you're gonna try to hide it, and I guarantee and I promise you, she ain't try to she ain't try to tell the parents, because they in the video, it did, the mom, she did say that the son had told her what happened. So yeah, that's why I was all like, yeah, she wasn't gonna come out her it wasn't gonna come out her mouth and what she did to them people's kids. So but anyways, yeah, you just got some people out there where, like I said, they don't need to be working around children and stuff. So, but anyways, with that being said, yeah, I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comment sections how you feel about it. I guess more so, how would you react if your kid came home and said, "Hey, a teacher or a daycare worker put me in the trash can and stuff." So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot of parents out there where it's like, yeah, you honestly, if you trying to defend this daycare worker, I'm like, that's an argument where it's like by default you're gonna lose. All right. So, but anyways, with that being said, talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.